Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Published Strong podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Pearson, and I'm joined today by my husband.
Hi, I'm Nolan.
And I've been listening to the last podcast episodes, like I said, I think last week, and I came across the episodes where we recorded in our living room, and man, our living room, I'm sorry guys, it's too big. No comment? It's not
big.
It's a nice size, but it's combined with the living room and the dining room, or the kitchen and the dining room, and it's not full of stuff, you know. So there's a lot of echo, and I know that my brother had a hard time editing out the echo, and so we sounded quite robotic. Anyway, we now record. We also record once in our office, and again we have the same problem in the office. Plus now there's too many fans whirring in there. Anyway, so we also recorded in the office, but it's echoey in there too, and we've got too many fans that are going, and so now we actually record in our bedroom.
Which is going to be awkward when we have guests.
It'll be fun. No. I was the one that said awkward earlier, and you said...
I triggered you.
Yes, you did. I was like, I invited one of my author friends next time he's in town to come and do an episode with us, and I was like, but it could be kind of awkward recording in our bedroom. And what did you say?
It was exciting.
It would be fun or exciting or something. Yeah. Oh, geez. Anyway. Yeah, so now we're recording in our room, which we have curtains, we have the bed, we have blankets, you know, and then the closet, of course, that's full of clothes. So lots of places for our echo to get absorbed. And we actually hung tons of blankets in the office and tried that, but it was too echoey.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our schedule, let me make sure I'm not skipping anything. Okay. Our schedule for we've actually got all the way through the end of July scheduled out. So if you haven't watched any of these movies and you're interested in watching them, then feel free to check them out. This week we're doing Jurassic World. Then we're doing Johnny English. And then June 6th-ish will be our marketing episode. Then we'll do Thor Ragnarok. And then Lars and the Real Girl, which is a kind of obscure movie. It's an indie film. It's really fun. Then we'll do Jurassic World 2, which comes out on June 22nd. I'm very excited about it. Then we'll do Casino Royale, Hunger Games, 10 Things I Hate About You, and Finding Forrester. Okay, so any updates this week from you?
No,
I sprained my ankle.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, especially since I dictate and I walk while I'm dictating. I guess I was trying to be like my mother-in-law because she broke her ankle on one set of our stairs, and I sprained my ankle on another set of stairs, and now we've got...
There's really nothing wrong with our stairs.
There is not.
They're perfectly functional stairs.
And I do have to tell you, it's kind of funny. We're heading to church because we're religious, and I was carrying a whole bunch of stuff because I was going to teach primary, the group of young kids, and I was backing away from the door trying to shut it while holding all these things, and I ended up falling backwards, and Nolan didn't see me fall, but he saw me sitting on the garage floor, and he thought I was putting my shoes on.
I was like, why didn't you sit on the stairs to put your shoes on? Why are you sitting on the floor? You're going to get dirty down there.
Yes. Yeah, so I was covered in sawdust, and I'm sitting on the floor in my church clothes putting my shoes on. Yeah, so we've got a couple set of stairs that we have left that we need somebody to come and get injured on. So if you're willing, let us know. We tried to bribe my niece, but she wouldn't do it. Anyway, so let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I finished Crimson Hollow. I finished Crimson Hollow on Saturday, we're recording this on, what's the date today? 21st of May, 2018. Happy birthday to my brother. I finished Crimson Hollow on Saturday, and I'm very much looking forward to digging into that. I might actually continue the series before I start revising Crimson Hollow, just so I can get the series done and make sure I'm not, I don't have any loose ends and things like that. All right. Do you want to go ahead and give us the quote?
You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do, by Henry Ford.
Yeah. Who's Henry Ford?
He made Ford.
He sure did. Why'd you pick that quote?
I maybe we've mentioned this before, but people always ask, what's the best way to promote my book? And I always tell them, write the next book. And that's part of building a reputation. You can't build a reputation unless you do something repeatedly.
Yeah, and readers, they don't, I mean, if you only have 1 book out, 2 books out, 3 books out, why are they going to take a chance? They want to know that this author, if they fall in love with your books, they want to know that they have a lot to read. And
right.
If you have 0 books out, then they're not, or 0. If you have 0 books out, why are you promoting?
It can be kind of painful to like push through to like book 3 or 4 in a series, or not even a series, just at all, before you start really promoting yourself. But it's hard. It's hard to, because like people read your first book and then forget about you, and then your second book comes out months later and they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it has gotten a bit better with how, because you can be informed of authors you like, when they complete something, and there's pre-orders and stuff like that. So it is better for indie authors than it used to be, but it's still just better to wait until you have a body of work to promote instead of individual projects.
Yeah.
Because it's part of building, you're building a brand. You're familiar, people are familiarizing yourselves with your work.
Yeah.
It's good to let them marinate in your stuff.
And here's the thing, like all of the authors listening who are new or don't have books out, I'm going to guess probably 1 or 2 of them are going to take this advice and disregard it, because we did.
Yeah.
Most authors, it's super hard to publish and see your books not go anywhere and have them just sit and languish. But in the beginning, I mean, there are several different schools of thought, and we're not going to get into this right now. I've got to actually teach I'm going to be doing a business masterclass for, what is it going to be called? Career Author Masterclass. And I'll talk about how to start from 0 and actually make a career out of it in 2 to 5 years. Basically the things that I wish that we had done, and that I see new authors who have somebody there to help them along the way, I see them do, and I see them do successfully. And so when you have new books out, the best way to focus your attention is by writing more books so that readers know they can rely on you. This is another reason why Book Club doesn't usually accept new authors, because they want their readers to be able to discover somebody who's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah. So no one-hit wonders, because there's too few one-hit wonders. Anyway, you know what I mean? And it's not like, even one-hit wonders, they don't have a career. They don't even get famous or retire off their one hit generally.
No, they don't.
Right? I mean,
how many one-hit wonders can you name?
Quite a few, but...
I mean, people who haven't written anything else after one.
I was thinking music, but...
Music. CDs.
Back in the day, it's CDs. Yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, usually... I don't know. I mean, they kind of push maybe other books later on that don't go anywhere, and so they can kind of limp along, I guess. But...
Yeah.
What's her face? The Trill Trilogy chick.
Oh, I was actually just thinking about her, Amanda Hawking.
I
really loved her books, and I don't know I have no idea what's going on with her. You don't ever hear about her anymore.
She took a publishing deal and then fell off the face of the earth, as far as we know. See, and that's just an example. We don't even know, and Andrea actually cares.
I do.
Did, anyway.
Yeah.
Probably look up and see what's going on.
I should. I check every now and then, but the problem is she's gone over to traditional publishing, and her books, like her releases, are like a year, sometimes 2 years spaced apart, and that's just not. I can't.
It's too long.
It's too long.
People expect instant gratification. You can what's the word? Critique that all you want, but that's the way it is. So
yeah.
Be faster about stuff.
Be faster about stuff.
And build a reputation. Be good, make good stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah, and the reputation, like if people know that you release every 3 months, every 4 months, and you've done that consistently for like a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Then you form a habit in your fans to look for you.
Exactly.
You want to program your little hamsters
to be watching for a book from you around those specific times.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So even if it's a little longer, as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, because, I mean, the faster you release, the faster your career will take off. The slower you release, the slower. But consistency is the key.
Yeah. It'd be more important to be consistent.
Yeah, so anyway, I've been very, very consistent in the past. And then depending on what's going on, and we can see the royalties, they don't do as well when I'm not releasing consistently. So like the 1 year when I released 4 books and they were 3 months apart, we did decently. And then last year I didn't release anything until July. And then the first half of the year, we actually had a really big promotion in February last year. And that carried us over until the dreaded summer months hit. and then I didn't have a release for like 2 months after the summer months hit, and then the rest of the year went really well. But so, I mean, being consistent is really, really big. And what are my recommendations? Don't move. Don't do anything.
Don't have anything important happen in your life.
Yes. But, you get to the point where those things don't happen as often. Like you're not having kids anymore. Your family is grown and you're just raising kids and you don't need to move all the time, And so those are the authors that have a lot of luck. And the ones that are in those places, I'm like, you have more time on your hands, because I know that there's a lot going on for people who have older kids, but babies and little kids are very physically demanding. Like I can't go to my 5-year-old and say, hey, could you cook dinner, or my 2-year-old. Well, I could. The 2-year-old would love it.
He would try.
He would. Actually, so would the 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But they require a lot of hands-on. And that's one reason I dictate now, is because I wasn't getting computer time in. Anyway, so take a look at where you are and figure out what you can do to be more consistent, to build that reputation that you need, and to move forward successfully. And just also remember that even if you have had problems with consistency and in the past, and you might be right now, this is not just a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan. This is the rest of your life plan. If you love writing and you find joy in this, then don't view it as something to get, rich off right now. Just sit back and be patient with yourself and patient with your circumstances. Do the best that you can, and then just continue to build your backlist and make them good enough books. They're not throwaway books, so that in 10 years, when you're in a better position, or 5 years or 20, you're able to take advantage of what you've done.
Yes.
Anyway, that was a really long. We just talked a lot about that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there was quite a bit of tips that I just gave, but I'm going to give more tips. So the official tip for this episode is going to be about covers. So the next little while we'll be talking about book covers. If you have specific questions about book covers, this is a great opportunity for you to support us on Patreon and get your questions answered.
No more information for you. Cost you.
Anyway, so one of the biggest mistakes new indie authors make is using covers that aren't professional.
True.
Yes. Don't hesitate to hire someone to take over this aspect of publishing for you, because a good cover designer, they've been developing their skills for many years, and the cost of the cover will be worth the perfect design for your book.
You want people to want to click on it.
Yes, exactly.
And not necessarily because it's a train wreck.
No, that does happen sometimes.
That does happen, but then I don't buy your book anyways. And then a lot of times that costs you advertising money. I'll click on your horrible ad. Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah, so...
Which often is the book cover, so... Yeah,
a good cover will fit the emotions or the theme of your book. So if your book is... so if your book is a lighthearted romance, should you have a black and red cover?
Twilight
is not a lighthearted romance. Yeah, so, and then if your book is like a fantasy or a science fiction book, it shouldn't be pink,
Well, I mean, there's a balance. You need to match your genre.
And the emotions.
And then you need to slightly be more noticeable than the ones around it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yep.
So it's kind of tricky because you want to fit in and then exceed expectations at the same time. So,
and Nolan has made he used to do book covers for publishers.
Yeah.
And then we retired him because we had zero time.
I have other things, to do. But that's something. I mean, sci-fi covers have a certain, expectation. People have to feel comfortable that it feels right in the genre.
Yeah.
And then you also have to distinguish yourself. Like you have to stick out from the ones that are next to it. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, so it has to match other covers in the genre, but it needs to catch and hold attention, and it needs to...
Small and large, so it has to be scalable. It has to be a thumbnail you want to look at, and then a big picture you want to look at.
Yeah. So if you go and look at fantasy, especially urban fantasy type books, the trend is a lot of blues and yellows. And so when I was making my book covers for my Mosaic Chronicles, I used those colors, but I flipped the importance. And so I used more yellows and blues. And if you'll go look at them, they're obviously fantasy. And my books have done exceptionally well since I switched those covers over from from the other ones. My Shade Amulet series, you want contrast. If you do fantasy, you need something that draws the eye. It needs to have an oomph there, colors especially. Let's see. Is any other comments on book cover design?
Well, we could go all day about it, but that's good for now.
Yeah, agreed. That's good for now. So yeah, we'll talk about let's see. I think next time we'll talk about the cost of the covers, places where you can get original artwork. Let's see. Okay, and
it
then
will
just
cost you money to buy them.
And then I'll talk about, and then we'll eventually talk about in probably 2 weeks, finding book cover designers, things like that, and then best practices, so how to know your book covers are going to be good, so how to get the testing on those that you need. And yeah, I love talking about book covers. It's one of my most favorite things to do as an indie author is book covers, and I get asked regularly if we do book covers. Nolan would probably. I don't know if you had the right project come along.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, so let's go on and get into the movie. What movie are we doing?
Jurassic World.
Awesome. Do you want to start us off with the characters and stuff?
Yeah, so this is a Jurassic Park movie, but has none of the characters from the previous movies in it. So we're starting all over. I don't want to say all over, but we have to reintroduce everyone.
Yeah.
Or introduce everyone, I should say.
Yeah.
And so there's, of course, since it's a Jurassic Park movie, there has to be children involved.
Yep.
And we have two brothers.
Yeah, Zach and Gray, who actually have a point in this show.
They have more of a point than some of the other ones, which were just to make things feel more dangerous.
Yeah. The show is told from the viewpoint, I would say, of Gray from the very beginning. The boy, the wonder, the excitement, the enthusiasm for dinosaurs and everything. They pull that off using his viewpoint.
Exactly.
So they're not just puppets, and we learn about their backstories. We learn about, and they develop, and there's quite a bit of character development in this show, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody has character development, probably, except Owen,
Yeah.
Owen, it doesn't really matter because he's the
stalwart. He's the what's the word I'm looking for? He's an iconic.
He's like Indiana Jones.
Jones he's an iconic hero. Exactly. So there's two main kinds of heroes, the dramatic and iconic. So dramatic ones change, and then the iconic ones are like Batman and Superman. Yeah. They don't
James
change.
Bond.
Yeah, they don't. And if they ever doubt themselves, then they rediscover themselves and then
go back to what they were before.
Exactly. Like Batman gets injured and then he's has his moments of doubt and then he remembers, like in the last Batman movie.
Yeah.
He's down in the pit and then he's like, wait a second, I'm Batman. And then he gets up and does it, and
exactly.
goes back to being Batman.
Yeah.
So
that's what Owen is.
Yeah. He's that guy. He's the guy who he's the competent one who already knows everything's going to go to crap.
Yeah.
And then he pulls everyone through by being competent and knowing how bad things can get. And then already has the skill set necessary.
Yeah. 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 And then Claire has quite a bit of growth in this movie. I kind of feel like her growth was a little bit forced almost.
Yeah. So the director says that she's the emotional arc that we follow through the movie. And I don't think that.
I was just like.
She's not a likable character.
I like her, but I agree. I feel like they tried too hard with her. So they pointed out too many of her. Can you guys find the asset? Where's the asset? She's too sterile. They tried too hard, to make her feel
to go one direction so she could go the other.
Yeah, exactly.
They made her too inhuman to make her become a person at the end.
Though I did really like the one point where the brontosaurus or whatever it's called dies and she cries.
Mm-hmm.
She. I like that. I didn't feel like that was forced.
But she does have the emotional arc where she is super cut off from everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end is not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then the kids.
So the two boys, I call one the playa.
That's Zach.
The older one who's all about the ladies. And then the nerd one, the younger boy.
Gray,
and he's all about the dinosaurs.
Yep.
And he's got mad trivia skills regarding even the original Jurassic Park.
Which is believable to me.
No, it totally is. But that's his bag.
Yeah.
So he's got the dinosaur trivia going on.
Yep.
Which does come in handy. But
yeah. And he knows the names of dinosaurs and things like that. So he's able to tell, inform the viewer or the other characters of.
There is Claire, who we've talked about. She's the main person, I would say, of the movie.
Yeah.
And then Owen, who is her counterpoint. She is the super schedule-y one, the professional business person. Mm-hmm. And he's the rugged wild man.
And he has some of the best lines in the movie.
Yeah, like when they're first seen together, he's fixing a motorcycle, just like that kind of,
Yeah, and by the way, Chris Pratt is not a motorcycle person.
Yeah, no,
he's like, I'm not coordinated enough. I get hurt too much when I'm riding them.
Yeah, so almost die.
It was so funny.
And then we have some extra characters. There's Mr. Mizrahi.
Yeah.
Who is the owner of the park.
He got it from Hammond.
Yes.
He took over Hammond's estate.
Yeah, Hammond left it to him to run it because he thought he would run it the way he would want it.
And he did. I mean,
he did.
He had that same...
Past tense because he dies. But.
Yes. I really liked him. I didn't like that he died.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's
the point. Yeah.
They got an emotional reaction out of you. That's the point. And then we have Hoskins, who's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And we have some other ancillary characters. We've
got the Velociraptors. I'm sorry, they're actual characters in the movie. They're not setting.
Yes.
They have growth.
Yeah, they are characters for once.
Yeah, they're introduced at the same time as Owen, and they're
actually the first thing we see in the movie when we talk about the opening scene.
No, the opening scene is the Indominus Rex. Trivia said that it's Indominus. The egg is.
Oh, is it?
That's an Indominus Rex.
Oh, because it looks just like a Velociraptor.
Well, that's complete foreshadowing.
Sense. Very good. Well, there you go. I learned something.
Yeah. The Indominus Rex, that's foreshadowing because it's, Indominus Rex is part raptor, so.
Yeah. Which is the big reveal.
Yes. The end. We
casually mention.
All of the spoilers. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Spoiler. And then, Hoskins was the bad, he's the bad guy. He's the InGen, let's use these dinosaurs as weapons guy.
Yeah.
And then there's the command center crew, which I count as one character.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then there's, Owen does have his. We don't have to talk about every single.
We don't
character.
have to talk about it. So there's more people who do stuff, but aren't as important, I guess.
Yeah, they're the secondary characters, and not all the. This is a good point. They had a lot of red shirts that did not die.
Yeah, because the command center crew doesn't die. He doesn't die. Yeah, so some of the sidekicks actually don't die. You think they're disposable characters, and they actually aren't, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they'll just get killed to shit. So because somebody has to die in that scenario, it's nobody's getting out of this without getting hurt. We can't hurt the main characters until some throwaway character dies who has one line.
Yeah. They do kill main characters.
They do.
Hoskins is the main character.
That's why you populate it with enough people that you could, in a I would say more poorly written movie, they wouldn't kill off some more important people.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mizrahi is the 8th richest man in the world, and they kill him. He's not immune to the hubris, or the danger of the island. That's good.
Yeah.
Hoskins dies slowly by Velociraptor.
And, we've made this point before. They populate, like you're saying, they populated this movie with enough characters that are believable people where it makes the story interesting and it gives us different threads to follow throughout the show. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really good. Are you okay if we move on to the next point? Yep. Okay, so opening scene. So this is the opening scene for this movie is pretty much the opposite of the opening scene for Jurassic Park 3. It's not aggressive at all.
It's not, which is good because it was cartoonishly aggressive in Jurassic Park 3.
Scratchy.
Scratch. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Jurassic Park 3!
Dinosaurs are in here in case you didn't know already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was deceived by this opening scene because I thought it was a Velociraptor and they didn't make it clear that it was an Indominus Rex.
Good point.
So unless you read the trivia, you think it's a Velociraptor like I did, and then you're like, this opening scene is dumb. Because it is dumb. I'm just going to come out and say it. Yeah. Compared to the... because it doesn't tell you anything. It's you can tell that they hatched raptors, which is bad. I was like, so that's good. They're telling so you're like, they didn't learn their lessons from the first 3 movies. They're hatching raptors, and we always know raptors are a problem.
Well, this movie they
are still a problem.
No, but they redeem themselves.
Yeah, which I mean, anyway, which I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
But if it is the Indominus Rex, then again, they didn't show that. They should
No,
have
they
had some
didn't.
they should have had some little raptor eggs and then like this giant Indominus Rex egg.
Yeah.
And then they had come out the same and you're like, wow, what's that thing? It's bigger than the other things.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, they didn't do that. Compared to the first movie's opening sequence.
Yeah. And everything has to be compared back to that movie.
Yeah, which is the origin. So we're going to compare it. Masterfully done. This is garbage.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be really strong about this language. It's not interesting. It's in a white, like, sterile environment. And this egg just hatches and like it's all shaky and like has an eye and you're like, okay, so what?
Yeah, and then the very next thing you see is this big bird. I mean, this huge bird landing on the ground. And it's like just like a crow or something.
Yeah,
and it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It's completely. I mean, we like this movie, but this opening scene's not effective. It doesn't set the tone for the movie.
No,
it doesn't tell you anything about anything. It doesn't tell you anything. It's like in a white void. This egg hatches of this unknown dinosaur, which apparently I misinterpreted because they weren't effective at storytelling. Yeah, I'm kind of mad about it. Like seriously, compared to the first movie, this is not good.
No, it's not.
It's really not. And then then they do the cut to the bird.
Yeah, which is just like it was kind of stupid. I'm like, are they trying to like build tension by having this?
They did a jump cut. They're like, "Boo, bird," and you're like, it's just a bird." You know, it's like, why?
Exactly. Yeah.
No. This is a dinosaur movie. Don't jump cut to a bird anyway. Let's point it out.
Well, maybe the Velociraptor Indominus Rex that has relations to a bird because birds
I think that's maybe what they were doing. Like, look how harmless this bird is compared to a T-Rex. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was from a storytelling standpoint, it's not good.
No, I agree.
Take that, director.
Okay, antagonist, protagonist. The antagonist is Hoskins. However, the real antagonist is the Indominus Rex.
Yeah. We've had dinosaurs be the adversary, like the Spinosaurus in the third movie.
But the Indominus Rex is a real character. It's like he thinks or she thinks her way through things.
A much more effective character than the Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
Their encounters with it are much more engaging.
Yeah, they are. It's interesting too, you know. And Hoskins, I think Hoskins is just a complication to the story.
Yeah, he's not that. Yeah, he's not really. I mean, he's a character.
I think he's an important character, but he's not a key. Like, I mean, I'm going to say this right now. I was disappointed that they killed him off because they could have carried him on to further movies.
Yeah, because you don't like him. He's a good villain. I mean, not a great villain, but I mean, he's there. You know?
Yeah, and that was actually going to be one of my. I have 4 points for authors at the end of this book or end of this. I'm just going to give that one right now because I've got 4. So I mean, keep the bad guy. We've got Hoskins, Dr. Wu, Darth Maul. You know, Dr. Wu sticks around. Darth Maul. They kill him in one movie.
Oh yeah.
Darth Vader. They keep him alive for multiple movies. I mean, if you build up a bad guy, let them stay around for a while. It's a lot of fun to So I'm like Hoskins and Indominus Rex is dead and Hoskins is dead. You know, Dr. Wu is not evil enough, you know.
Oh, you are so wrong.
Whatever. Because of the pencil. Are you going back to the pencil again?
We're going back to the first movie, if you'll recall, and re-listen to that episode when I mentioned that as a younger scientist, in his falsely white lab coat, the sign of scientific purity.
Oh, jeez.
He uses a pencil. And I told you he was a bad seed.
And he erased something.
And he erased something in a lab.
Uh-huh. So he's
Cardinal
a bad
sin. He's a bad seed. And I was like, this guy's going down the wrong path in his life. I can tell now. Someone needs to shepherd him into a better course. And then here we are in movie 4. He's graying at the temples. He looks distinguished. He looks reputable.
He looks very distinguished.
Underneath it all, he's still the guy with the pencil in the lab. He even wears a gray lab coat in this to show he's been stained.
Oh my gosh.
It's symbolic, Andrea.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, so
right?
If you're writing a series, keep your bad guy throughout. Like, have a main bad guy. Don't do what the Ranger's Apprentice did. Ranger's Apprentice, they killed the bad guy after 1 or 2 books, and then they introduce a new bad guy in the same series. And I'm like, that's lame.
I mean, you have to have wins, so you have to like defeat people along the way. That's fine.
But you can have mini bad guys.
You have to have mini bosses.
Yeah.
For the big boss.
Exactly.
Just like in video games.
That's
why they do it.
Yeah.
Anyway. But it's for sure it's true. Like, especially the Darth Maul, because they did such a big job of like pumping up how awesome he was, and like all the trailers and stuff like that. And then
I really liked Darth Maul.
And then he doesn't talk at all, and then they kill him, and you're like, what? He's not even a thing. He's just like a speed bump, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they didn't want him to take away from. I mean, Darth Vader wasn't even around, so they could have kept him in the whole time.
Yeah, they could have had.
And I didn't care about Insidious or whatever.
Darth Sidious, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to yet, anyways. He's not the face of the Sith at that point. That's what Maul's for. He's the one going out and doing the stuff. It's just like what they did with, the Emperor. The Emperor doesn't do stuff till later. You have to get through Vader to get to the Emperor. That's what I'm saying.
We should have kept Darth Maul around.
Yes, I know. I agree.
Okay. Sorry, that was a tangent, but that was my point.
Not exactly. It is an example of also what not to do. Like, see, they didn't do it here and it sucked, and they didn't do it here and it still sucked.
Yeah, so if you write series, especially ones that, even ones that don't build on previous books, if you write in a series where characters are the same, then keep your bad guys around for a while, Make it so that when they die, it actually means something.
Yes. Have many levels of bad guys for your good guys to overcome.
Yeah. Exactly. And don't introduce, like what they did with Ranger's Apprentice was in the first 2 books or first 3 books, I think it was, they finally defeat the bad guy, and then you learn in like book 4 that there's another bad guy. You can't do that.
You have to weave it in early.
You weave it in early so that we know that this guy's a bad guy, yes, but the big bad guy.
Yeah, because you see like Vader talk to the Emperor.
Exactly.
And you see him kneel. You don't know anything about the Emperor, but you see Vader kneel.
Yeah.
And you're like, after all the crap he's done, he's kneeling before somebody?
Yeah.
And that's all you need to know.
Yeah. No, that's really, really good. All right. So let's go into dialogue, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Okay. So there's one point where the guy, what's his name? He's the guy who works with Owen Grady. Mm-hmm. He's French. And he's a black guy. He says, these people, they never learn. And so my question is then, why are you working there?
Why are you working there? He always complains about what a horrible idea all of this is. Did he just want to train velociraptors for fun?
Maybe they gave him a big bribe or something.
Well, it doesn't matter.
And we don't get his backstory, so why is he opposed to it? Why is he working there?
I can't believe I'm being forced to do the job that I was hired for.
That he said yes to.
Yeah. But it's the same with Owen. It's like, what did you think you were training raptors to do? Like, fetch? You're training them to kill things.
It's true, actually.
You knew all along what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, that's not what training raptors are for. Literally, yes, it is.
Though, I don't know. I think they were probably doing it just to see how well they could become trained,
I suppose at one point, but they were hired by InGen for that purpose. So, Well,
it kind of felt like Hoskins didn't keep them. He didn't, come...
He was hired out of the military where he trained animals to do military jobs.
Okay. That's, yeah.
And then InGen hires him to train velociraptors. And then he assumes they're not going to eat people with them. That's literally what velociraptors do, is eat people. Crunchy, delicious people.
Crunchy, delicious people. Okay, so inciting incident. When was the inciting incident?
When the Indominus Rex escapes.
And that was 35 minutes into the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jurassic Park, the inciting incident for Jurassic Park was when the park starts to fall apart, right?
Which is also quite late in the movie.
It is. And the point I wanted to make with this is, it's not like with Twilight and New Moon where there's, nothing happening until the inciting incident. I feel like with a thriller, there's stuff going on.
Yeah, if you actually spend time building up to the incident, then you can have a late incident.
Yeah, and there's important things that we're learning before it happens.
Because you have to put your pieces in place.
Yeah.
If you make putting the pieces in place interesting, then you can delay it. But some movies, they just don't fill the first part with stuff
that matters.
So the first third or half of the movie is just agony.
Yeah.
The second Twilight movie, New Moon, was like that, where the inciting incident doesn't happen until an hour into the movie, which is almost twice as long as this. Mm-hmm. And it's not satisfying when it does because of how bored you are from...
I thought it was 24 minutes or something.
Was it? Maybe it was. Never mind then.
But still, it was 3/4 or a quarter of the movie in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was your point when we just got interrupted by our daughter? So in case that was disjointed, go ahead and make your point about... You were so Twilight, New Moon.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I thought Twilight did it later, but even if it didn't, it felt like such a long time.
They both did it at least half an hour into the movie.
Okay, so the interactions between the characters, especially since they're characters we already know.
Yeah, for New Moon, right?
Yeah, they could have like had more interesting things happen and skipped introductions because they didn't need to do as an extensive an introduction.
Yeah.
In this, we had to introduce all of the characters and the new setting. Even though it's Jurassic Park, it's an open park, functional park, which is very different than the other movies.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Twilight was all the same characters in the same location. They could have gotten right to the story, and they did not.
For New Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And I mean, so like for a thriller book or, even a science fiction or fantasy, when you have a ton of viewpoint characters and a ton of main characters and especially where they're all going to have growth of some sort, having it take a little while to get to the inciting incident is not a big problem. And how long is Jurassic World anyway?
2 hours.
2 hours. So we hit it at 35 minutes. The inciting incident needs to happen at least a quarter of the way in.
Yeah.
Or before. But the whole point with this is don't have your inciting incident happen halfway through the story. You need to have it happen quick to the beginning of the story.
The story is about the complications that occur from the inciting incident.
Yeah, agreed.
Your movie can't be about that unless it happens earlier than the end, I guess,
Yeah, I agree.
Like, they don't have a chance to overcome the problem and then have a resolution that's satisfying if most of your movie's taken up with all the before stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so foreshadowing. I know you've got a bunch of foreshadowing comments. I've got one. Mine is that every resolution at the end of the climax is seen ahead of time. So the T-Rex, we see the T-Rex eat something, so we know the T-Rex is still there. The Velociraptors, we know that Owen can work with the Velociraptors, so that's not a surprise. And the Mosasaurus we see the Mosasaurus. So nothing at the climax. There's no Deus Ex Machina, basically.
No, and even more than that, some of my foreshadowing. Not necessarily foreshadowing, I guess it's not really foreshadowing, but they weave elements that are used later in the movie, earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
So, I will go over mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Their mom at the beginning says, if something chases you, run, which turns out to be ironic from their perspective, because that's like literally what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's not anything new to us. We know that they're going to, because it's a dinosaur movie. But
yeah, they don't need to really put that sort of thing in there.
But it was still kind of fun. You know?
And this one's from Owen to Hoskins, and he says, "It's what he's like." Hoskins is telling him, it's either you or we do it without you. Progress won't stop. Blah blah blah. And then Owen says, well, "Maybe progress should lose for once," and it does. And Hoskins gets killed as a consequence. Yeah,
see, I didn't even notice that. I wasn't paying as close attention to
because he's like Hoskins is saying, "I represent progress."
Yeah, and he dies.
And Owen says, "Yeah, maybe progress should lose for once," and then he dies.
He dies. That's awesome. That's good foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. There's a grill that they show flare at the beginning of the movie when they're walking through like the park when it's normal, past like the, where that main strip where there's restaurants and everything like that. It flares up, and then during the end fight scene with the Velociraptors and everything, one of them dies by grill.
See, that's funny because I swear I watched every minute of this movie with you, and I didn't even notice the grill. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that it was a grill that killed the raptor.
Yeah, it lands on a grill, and then the grill
explodes,
fireballs, and
because that's what happens with grills.
That's not what happens with grills. If you throw a piece of meat on a grill, it does flare up as your juices.
Though maybe it broke the propane tank open.
Then it would be an explosion and not a flare up.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the way they kill that raptor. That's not you get horribly burned by landing on a grill.
Yeah.
Especially an industrial grill, but not, I don't know.
You don't explode.
Yeah, you don't just die. You maybe not want to do stuff afterwards, but.
Yeah. All right. Continuity, or is that
the Indominus killing for sport?
This is still foreshadowing.
Yes, this is still foreshadowing. Okay. And that's one of the things that tells you before they tell you that the Indominus Rex is part of Velociraptor.
Good piece of foreshadowing there. That the the Indominus Rex kills for sport, because we already know, they've established that clearly in all the other movies, that raptors kill for sport.
Mm-hmm. And my last comment is, at one point they're in the original park, and in the first movie there was a suspended T-Rex skeleton that the live T-Rex smashes.
The one that the kids fall on?
The one the kids fall on.
Okay.
And the kids from this new movie find their way to that part of the park. Well, and Owen and what's Claire when they're tracking them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that main foyer where the skeleton was, and the bones are on the floor, and the Indominus Rex smashes through the building and then crushes the T-Rex skull.
Crushes the T-Rex skull.
Yes.
Yeah, but then the T-Rex kills it, so...
But not on its own.
That's true. The T-Rex had to have help.
One-on-one, the Indominus Rex
would have won. Yeah, because it has the forearms.
Longer forearms.
And it's smarter.
Claws.
I feel it's smarter.
Smarter.
All right, so what are your continuity comments?
They do a good job with continuity. They cover some of the themes that are in the original movie, or at least fulfill some of there's the promise of a functioning park that they try and fail at twice.
Yeah.
Now there is a park.
There's an actual park, which is awesome.
Which is of course, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like what happens if
and it's been running for years.
Yeah, and it's full of delicious, crunchy people.
Thousands and thousands of them.
20,000 crunchy, delicious people are on the island now. Because before it was all small teams of people working there trying to get the thing up and running, but now it's chock full of delicious, nutritious human beings.
Are we really all that nutritious?
Yes. No, I guess mostly we're junk food now.
Because of what we eat.
Yeah.
Yes, probably true.
They also continue the theme of them not really being dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
Which is how they breed in the first one, is because they can spontaneously change gender.
Which is not the way they were, at least not those ones.
Not originally, no.
Yeah.
But that's just one complication, because they didn't expect them to be able to mate.
Yeah, and that kind of disappoints me. I want them to be real dinosaurs, okay?
Sorry, they're just lab show freaks.
They're dinosaurs, but they've got DNA from other creatures in them, so they're not real dinosaurs. And that's the point Grant makes.
In the third movie.
Yeah.
It's like, people ask him, why are you still digging up dinosaur bones when you could just go to an island full of dinosaurs and look at them? And he's like, because they're not really dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They're lab grown.
It would be interesting to take the skeleton of a real dinosaur and compare it to the skeleton of one that InGen created.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's close, it's still different in a lot of other ways.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then, the last is the danger of what they're doing. Like in the first movies, they didn't take the danger seriously enough of what they were doing. How stupid, like people are used to being the top of the food chain, and then you go to this place where you're definitely nowhere near the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
In this movie, they take it less for granted, but still get screwed by it.
Yeah. Well, in Maserati, he appreciates. He's kind of like Hammond. Hammond wasn't...
A less naive Hammond.
Yeah, he's a less naive Hammond. Hammond was the idealistic, the optimist, and Maserati as well, but he's... Maserati, but he's very... Like, there's a point where, the dinosaur escapes, and he goes, and they're, like, trying to send a park-wide alarm, and our 5-year-old is in the room right now. We're not going to be able to edit out her humming and singing. Anyway, so they're like send out a park-wide alarm. He's like, no, don't. He's like, a dinosaur's escaping. It's an eventuality when you have a dinosaur theme park. He's like, how we handle it. We have to be able to take care of this quietly and discreetly. Mm-hmm. Because you go to Disneyland and the princesses escape all the time.
They do. You can't keep them chained up for nothing.
No, but like a park ride goes down, the rest of the park needs to be able to function even when a ride's down.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like that point that he makes. So he's John Hammond, but he is more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, he even mentions the point of the park is to show you how small you are compared to nature.
Yeah,
and it gets him in the end too, because even he succumbs to the power of nature.
Yeah. Yep.
In the form of falling in a deathly fireball,
which, by the way, would be terrifying. The falling part. Knowing that you're going to die, but then it's a quick end.
Don't fly helicopters, I guess. Especially around dinosaurs.
He's like, we don't need another pilot. And he doesn't even have, and as you made the point, it's like, why are they giving him a license when he can't even take off?
Yeah, he's not like that solid on flying, and he's like, "Oh, 2 more days till I get my license." I'd be his instructor. I'd be like, "Nah, I think we're gonna take this slower, buddy, because yeah." If it's like literally the day before you get your pilot's license, you should be pretty solid at flying in a straight line and taking off and going from point A to point B on an island that you own.
Yeah.
And being able to take off on land. Like, those are kind of basic things. But he couldn't do it, so there you go.
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess he could, and that other guy couldn't shoot because he didn't hit the T-Rex with the giant machine gun thing. So.
No. Okay, so I'm going to talk about romance now, if that's okay with you. So, romance, the meet cute in this romance is one of my all-time favorites. The scenes, and it's not technically a meet cute because it's not the first time they've met, but it's the first time we are seeing them together. Anyway, it's so awesome. It's like, they're both he's incredibly sarcastic, and she's just, she hates to be there. She hates to have to approach him, and he's like, she's like, we have an attraction, and he's like, that's not what you said the last time I saw you, and he's like, dinosaurs have to eat, dinosaurs have to hunt, dinosaurs have to, he does the fist pumping thing, and he's like, you can relate to at least one of those things, right? And I love their interactions here. She's like, you might want to change your shirt, they're very sensitive to smell. It's awesome. And their kiss, it's one of the best kisses in cinematography because it's,
oh my, that's a high standard you're setting.
No, it's because it's so natural and unnatural. Like, it's so unexpected. And a little bit of trivia here, the director actually asked Chris Pratt, he's like, it wasn't a planned kiss, at least not, the director was like, hey, how about in this next take, why don't you go ahead and give her a kiss, and she didn't know it's coming, and the actress, and that ended up being the take that they used because, and that's props to her for not breaking her character when he kisses her, She didn't slap him.
I know. I was like, you didn't knee him? What's going on?
It's awesome.
That would have been pretty good, too, I guess. I probably would have left that in, too.
That would have been pretty awesome.
She goes for it for a little bit and then realizes what's happening and then just...
knees him.
Right in the junk.
Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and talk about conflicts, trifel cycle. Actually, I know that you had what's the word? Comments about the PA system and the phone connection and
yes, that's examples of plausible versus implausible.
Yeah, go ahead. I only have one.
Okay. Every phone or radio doesn't work at just the right time to cause a complication and no other times.
And you have a frowny face next to your note there.
Because it's dumb.
I put stupid next to my note.
It's lazy movie making and is dumb.
Yes, lazy writing on the story writer part.
Not good, guys. Like yeah, the phone cuts out just when they're about to warn him that they're with the Indominus Rex.
Yeah.
It's it's in the
PA system.
And it doesn't do it before and it doesn't do it after. It only does it then. And
the phone connection.
And the phone connection messes up when Claire calls to warn them just right when the danger is happening. They do it twice, like really close together. They shouldn't do it twice. Or even once. They shouldn't
do it at all.
Don't do it at all.
I'm
Don't
do
it
right now,
twice next to each other.
The bad PA system, phones having problems, these are cliched. You should not be doing that in your phone anymore because readers roll their eyes. I mean, seriously, like, oh, naturally, of course the phone's going to have problems. Unless it's like a phone that's really bad and always has problems and you see that in all the way throughout the whole story,
Exactly.
It's not good storytelling.
Which it wouldn't be at a resort town anyway.
No, exactly.
There's one place that things are probably going to work right. I mean, it's in a well-established area. I mean, how often does your phone not work going to work?
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
never. Mine does mine does at work because I'm in a giant metal building at the very edge by a mountain.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so I think that
But they're literally at like a summer resort.
Yeah.
And it's not like
it is on an island, but I'm sure that there's by this point this has been going on for like 10 years. You
saw how big those hotels were that
they've got the cell companies. There's no way the cell companies are going to miss out on.
Yeah, like within the park there shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially when they don't talk about it ever being a problem. It's just, it was, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a comment on plausible versus implausible. Indominus Rex versus the fanny pack.
Oh, yes.
How do you feel about that?
So stupid. I hate it when they, so the Indominus Rex snares the fanny pack of the youngest boy,
Gray,
and attempts to pull him out of the building that they're hiding in, because
while Owen and Zach hold him back.
Because a teenager and one pretty buff guy, I'll admit, and one weak teenage kid obviously overpower a 50-ton dinosaur.
Yeah, and that's funny. Even if you're talking about the muscles in the dinosaur's arm, and you've got these three people fighting it, the dinosaur just needs to lean back, and it's got its whole body weight behind that.
I mean, even if it has wimpy arms, which it doesn't, its weight alone, is enough to turn the tide. Like he would be picking up all three of them, like little baby fleas. And
I'm gonna bet that we don't need to tell our listeners about that. I bet our listeners, when they saw the movie, they're like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so comments. Let's see, you don't have any more comments on the rest of the page, right? No, research.
I had stopped with the lens flares.
Oh yes, lens flares. Yeah, lens flares are really annoying.
Especially when there's like no point to that one.
Yeah.
It's the headlights of a car at like 1:00 in the afternoon. They don't lens flare. No. You can barely tell.
No, and they're in the forest, but the forest isn't that dark there.
It's not that dark. It's well-lit area. There's no need for lens flares.
So how do we relate that back to writing? I mean, don't use lens flares in your book. Okay, got it. Done.
It distracted from where the attention should have been. Like, it didn't emphasize the right part of the scene.
Okay, so yeah, we've got the guy getting out of the Jeep and the lens flares down in the bottom of the scene.
The head guy of the
attack team.
The attack team is getting out of the... It's like the first good... Maybe not first good... But he's actually in the field. He gets out of his truck and he's like looking intense.
Yeah.
And then there's a lens flare in your face. And you're just like...
There's one point where a lens flare is actually okay. And it's when it's our heroes. The iconic, like you were saying.
It just shows his outline to start with. And then he comes like into... I don't want to say into focus.
Yeah, this is Owen with the Raptors, in case nobody followed that.
Yeah, that's his opening shot. Like, the sun is behind him, backlighting him, and he's just a shadow. Mm-hmm. He's very iconic. He's up on that bridge thing.
Yeah.
The light's shining behind him, like, oh.
No, but I mean, in that case, it drew attention to him.
It drew attention to him, not from him.
Yeah.
The contrast between the sun behind him and his shadow made it stark contrast, not like, oh, look, there's a guy and the headlights shining in my face. Why would you do that? So when you write a scene, make sure you understand the point of the scene. Scene construction is important, where the emphasis is supposed to be. And something
a comment you made earlier, not in the podcast episode, was don't repeat things. Like, don't repeat don't use repetitive words. They when they repeat lens flares too many times, it's one trait that they're doing over and over again.
Looking at you, Star Trek, the movie.
Yeah.
The whole franchise.
Yes.
Or the radio thing. They did that twice too. Why'd you do that twice? Or the phone not working.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, agreed.
It's only 2 hours. Like, you couldn't go 2 hours without repeating the same gimmick. My goodness.
Yeah.
Sad.
Okay, so
it's not an interesting one either. It's just random stuff.
It doesn't add to it. It doesn't make the show prettier. Okay, so I have a comment on comedy. So there's a part where the boys get in the back of the truck and Claire's like, put your seatbelts on. And then there's no seatbelts. And she's like, okay, hold hands. And she disappears. And then we pan back to the boys and Gray's holding his hand out and he like nudges his brother. He's like, hey, come on, she said to hold hands. Anyway, let's see. So talking about the soundtrack a little bit, the very first song they give to us is a Christmas song, and the last line we clearly hear before they cut away is "May all your troubles be far away." So that's a little bit of foreshadowing, actually. Mm-hmm. But it's an interesting choice for the soundtrack, especially since it's a Christmas song in a movie that has nothing to do with Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they bothered to have it be Christmas that they go during. It really doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't add to the plot. Usually when Christmas is mentioned, the movie is about Christmas. Or like it's a romance.
Or just Christmas time, because like they go to South America. I don't understand. Did they just want to put as much distance to make it feel like a trip? You know what I mean? To draw a contrast between the
two locations or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't feel like it really mattered, but
It didn't add to the story.
That's why I'm guessing they did it.
But I did like that the soundtrack was more of a revisit to the original one. We already talked a little about that. So Gray's point of view is wonder and awe, and the soundtrack reflects that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, so while we were watching the movie, I was thinking, is this plausible that Owen Grady hadn't heard of the Indominus Rex? And then they actually explain it, which I appreciate. They use cuttlefish to help the Indominus Rex handle the accelerated growth. And so it is more plausible that Owen hadn't heard of the Indominus Rex yet, And I like that. If you have implausible things, explain why. Unlike when Eric in movie 3, how he's like, you don't want to know about the T-Rex's urine,
Right.
So that's
like, yes, I do.
Yeah. So if there's something that readers would view as implausible, make sure you explain how it could be plausible. Okay, so the climax, lots of in the right space at the right time stuff for the most action and conflict to be visible. We've got people running away from the dinosaurs, and they just keep happening to get in the way of the dinosaurs, just to make the climax more interesting.
Yeah. It'd be better if they ran in a straight line instead of a circle and try and get away from the dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the T-Rex and the Velociraptor team up. I absolutely love that. I thought that was really awesome. And
it looks cool, even though I don't think it's plausible.
Yeah, I don't think it's plausible either. It'd be more likely the Velociraptors would team up against the T-Rex. Right?
Yeah. Well, especially because they give no reason why they switch sides at the last minute.
Yeah, exactly.
And then two of them die right away.
Well, one of them dies. There's one that doesn't ever come.
Oh, that's right. That he gets shot by a rocket launcher.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they don't ever give a good excuse for why the Velociraptors started obeying Owen again. Because they turned on him when it was, I don't know. I wish that they could have shown something where, like, if the Indominus Rex had attacked one of the Velociraptors and then the other ones teamed up with Owen against him,
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
But he barely had a lock on them in the beginning, and he talks about how dangerous it is, and you see him, he can slow them down for a minute, but then they ultimately do go after him. It's just that he gets to the door first.
Exactly.
And then they completely switch sides, and then switch back for no reason when there's no cage or threat.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem plausible.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the epilogue, the resolution, we get the T-Rex coming out, and he's on top of the command center, and he roars, and I'm like, I love it. And then they cut the roar off. And that really bothers me until I think a little bit deeper about it, because it shows that the story isn't over yet, that we're not done yet with the Jurassic Park movies. And that makes me happy because I love the Jurassic Park movies. But then again, I want to hear the T-Rex roar more,
Sure.
All right, are you okay if I do trivia now?
Yes.
Okay, so Chris Pratt predicted in Parks and Rec that he would be in Jurassic Park 4. That's actually a bit of trivia that we saw they did a commentary with Chris Pratt, and they're like, hey, so you predicted. Yeah, so tell about that.
He was doing a comedy bit for, where he was pretending that, what's his name?
Steven Spielberg was texting
him, and he's like, sorry, I'm busy, I can't be in Jurassic Park 4 right now. And then later he's totally in Jurassic Park 4. So.
And it's funny because in Parks and Rec, he's like overweight, and he's a comedian guy. He's not a hero.
No, instead of some macho, hero.
Yeah, it's awesome. I thought that was fantastic. And Jurassic Park 1 is rated 8.1, and Jurassic World is 7.0 on IMDb, which this is not, I don't know, this isn't as good a story as Jurassic Park 1, but it's also not quite the same genre,
It's not. It's more of the summer action blockbuster type movie. It's not a
heavy thinker.
It not as much as the first one.
Yeah. So a lot of people were speculating that Chris Pratt's character, that Owen, remember in Jurassic Park 1, where the kid is like, the velociraptors aren't scary at all, and Grant takes the velociraptor claw and slices him across the stomach. A lot of people speculated that Chris Pratt is that boy all grown up, but the actor for that boy, he dismissed the idea. He's like, guys like me don't grow up to look like Chris Pratt.
And he did not.
No. But I thought that was funny. And besides, like, Chris Pratt is, like, so blonde, you know? I mean, his hair's not fully blonde, but that kid had very dark hair, you know?
Yeah.
Most people don't go the opposite direction until they gray.
Yeah.
They don't go from dark-headed to light. And then, okay, so when Claire turns on the hologram of the Dilophosaurus, when they're running away from the Velociraptor, she uses it to distract the Velociraptor. That's actual footage from when Nedry was attacked by them.
Nice.
Which, yeah, I thought that was cool. And Trevorrow, the director, approached Steven Spielberg with the story ideas. I can't remember if we talked about that or not already, but so Steven, they actually had tried to write this story for 10 years or something like that, and he approached Spielberg, and that's the reason why they picked him to direct it, was because he actually came with legitimate ideas.
At least they took their time this time.
Yeah, to
they
actually
didn't do
put
the
a story
big, shameless cash-wearing grab of movies 2 and sort of 3.
Yeah, agree. No, I agree. And
which, I mean, make your money, I guess, but...
Yeah, no.
But don't expect it to go well.
Yeah, exactly. This is the 4th highest grossing film of all time.
At the time it was made, anyway.
2015, yeah. Which is that's pretty big,
impressive.
There's a lot of high grossing movies out there, and I'm proud of them, because it's one of my favorite movies, so...
Yeah.
And let's see, guess how Zach and Gray auditioned for the movie?
How?
They sat in chairs and they screamed, pretending a dinosaur was about to eat them.
Yep. It's a useful skill in this movie, so...
It is. Lots of screaming happening. Okay, so this is something that was interesting that kind of disappointed me. Zach and Gray were supposed to hide where Nedry died and find the embryos.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the first movie. Like, who will find the embryos?
Yeah.
And then our dream was almost fulfilled, but it wasn't.
Yeah, so I'm hoping maybe they'll return to that, and they'll actually do something with that in one of the future movies. That's what I'm hoping will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Harrison Ford was supposed to star in the show, but he dropped out due to how Indiana Jones 4 went.
I wouldn't show my face on film either.
Well, Indiana Jones 4 came out in 2008.
There's not enough time still, to this day, between us and the Crystal Skull to have it be okay.
Kingdom of the Crystal... It was such a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it was so bad.
It's objectively a horrible movie.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him having to do that one.
Should we do that one next? Not next movie, but
have it be in our lineup.
And just hate on it. just hate on it all day.
That right there, you complained again about Star Wars being redone. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is how I feel about Star Wars. Indiana Jones was the very first PG-13 movie I ever watched growing up, and I love that franchise. Like, love it. And Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kills me.
Yeah, it hurts to watch. It's physically painful for me to watch.
Okay, so Dwayne Johnson was their first choice to play Owen.
No,
I agree. No.
I don't know what else is.
He would. I don't know.
I like The Rock for that role. No.
Yeah, I really like The Rock. I really like him as an actor. But I don't know.
He's too big. He's physically for that role. I mean, it's just he'd look really incongruous compared to everyone else.
Yeah, and he would steal the show. He's a huge actor.
He's such a big physical presence.
Pun intended.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's like literally taking up the screen time.
Yeah,
it's too on the nose, I think.
Yeah,
maybe,
I agree.
For an ex-military guy, and then you have The Rock be like a 6'5", like 350.
Well, he's like the stereotypical military guy.
Yeah.
And Owen Grady is not what we usually think of when we think of military.
I don't know. I mean, he's literally more like what the military would look like.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, I have a brother and a brother-in-law that are in the military, and they're more like Owen Grady than they are the Rock, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I mean, I think he could have acted the part well. I just don't... I'm having a hard time picturing it. I just am.
I am too. I'm really glad
we love you, The Rock. We love you, The Rock, but no.
Just like Harrison Ford. We love Harrison Ford, but no.
But no, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have one last bit of trivia. Actually, I have a couple of bits of trivia, but this one, I need to get your honest reaction on this one.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready for it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you are.
Our 5-year-old believes that Dad's ready for this.
That gave me the courage.
that gave him the courage to be ready for it.
Thanks for believing in me.
Okay, so the position of Claire was almost offered to Kristen Stewart, but they ultimately decided she was too young.
she's too a lot of things. Like,
Rabbit stenchers.
oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
And again, I don't want to offend Kristen Stewart because I think it's, she could get braces actually. Teeth are something you can fix. I have a problem with making fun of actors and actresses who look wrong. I don't agree with physical therapy. I'm messing with my sprained ankle. I don't think that somebody's career should depend on plastic surgery, but you can have braces.
No, it's just I think she's like too wrong for that part. She's like emo chick.
Yeah, she would. Oh, it would.
Can you imagine her and Owen making out?
Ew. Okay. All right. We're not going to...
No, we have to. Let's move it on. Or how about this? The Rock and Kristen Stewart. Let's replace the entire cast with the original...
All right, Kristen Stewart and Harrison Ford making out.
No, that's more plausible to me. No, like, she's fine as Bella.
Yeah, I actually like her as Bella.
She's, like, pale and mopey. Fine.
Yeah, but
Claire is pale and authoritative.
Yeah, she's take charge. And Bella, I mean, not Bella, but Kristen Stewart's character, I don't know, in Seven, the Huntsman movie or whatever it was, she was fairly take charge in that one.
That's true. And she fit that part well. I actually didn't mind her in that movie.
No, me neither.
But I just like, it's mind-blowing to me that they almost picked her for this movie instead of Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard is mature. She's got a ton of movies behind her. You know, she's been doing this for a long time.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the part itself, I just, like, objectively, I just think that would have been a casting disaster.
Error. Yeah. Okay, so I retract what I said. I mean, because Chris Pratt didn't have a ton of movies behind him at this point. No, and he still did really good in this movie. Yeah. So, I mean, but still, I mean, she just would not have been a good choice. Anyway.
Yeah, I find that shockingly...
appalling.
Yeah, like, I don't know why, like, I find that so offensive, because, like, we've seen movies with Kristen Stewart that aren't bad, so it's not, I don't think that she's bad in certain roles.
No.
I just don't think this is for her at all.
No, I'm trying to picture
so
her
weird.
being serious.
So weird. Yeah, no, I'm, like...
It's being in charge, and...
It's blowing my mind, and she's probably far too young to be running
a company that's been going for, like, 5-10 years.
20,000 person resort.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they decided ultimately she was too young. But man, too bad for her though. Could you imagine that they decided it was your age? That usually doesn't go against you, you know, when you're
right. Yeah, but I'm young. Like, sorry, actress.
All right, so are you ready for top biggest takeaways?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Number one, continuity was very good.
Mm-hmm. Between the series or in the movie?
Within the series and within the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
They made it like the themes connected.
Yeah.
So that was done very well. Anyway, okay, that's my takeaway number one. So in your series, make sure they all feel like they tonally belong together.
Yeah.
I've seen some series where, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 1 star. And you're like, why does book number 7 in this 15-book series have 1 star? And they're like, it's a flashback, and it's a flashback to like a whole other thing,
Jeez.
And no.
It's one of these things does not belong. Little Sesame Street for us.
Yeah. So don't do that. I mean, sometimes you can have books, I guess, like spin-off ones that take a very different tack.
Yeah. But
they need to be aware that there's that kind of a break with the series. It's not part of the like mainline series. Anyway. That was number one.
All right. Okay. So while you're thinking about yours, then I'll go ahead and do mine. Here are my top 3 biggest takeaways. Okay. So first off, don't get your couple together and break them up again at the end of the movie. So National Treasure, we get this couple, they get together, and by the end of the movie, they're together. And then at the start of movie 2, they're not together anymore. And it totally invalidates the romance in your movie.
Yeah, so they want to have a romance arc, but they don't want to have to introduce 2 new characters or continue with the one that they have.
Yeah, because they get together and they're like, well, what comes after that?
Yeah, and then they have to they get together, and then they have to re-get together, and it's the same story over again.
And how this applies to this movie is we already know that in the next movie, they're not together, because they have in the trailer, they have a scene where they're in a restaurant or something like, so what have you been up to over the last few years, And that's just disappointing to those of us who cheered for them to get together throughout the first movie. So in a series, if you want to have the romance arc fit the whole series, right? I think most people want to have a romance subplot in all of their books. So have it be so that in the first book, they get to the point where they can hold hands, but they don't kiss, and there's nothing wrong with breaking or pushing the physical aspect of the relationship throughout the series if the romance is not the point of the series, and even if it is, if you write clean romance or whatever. But don't ruin your romance viewers, your romance readers. They want the couple to get together and stay together. Otherwise, it totally invalidates the romantic subplot. Okay, so that's my first takeaway. Then my second takeaway is it's a logical thing. So when you're reading or writing, you need to have your answers match the questions. You need to have the start of a sentence fit the end of the sentence. It needs to have a logical flow. And so the reason I'm bringing this up, okay, so let me give you a bunch of different sentences dialogue bits of examples from the movie to basically make my point. So we've got the guy who's wearing the Jurassic Park shirt. I can't remember what his name is, but he's in the command center, and Claire is like, how soon until the dinosaur is moved? And then the chick is like, well, it's stoned, it's totally unconscious. And then the guy's like, you do realize these are real animals, right? And I'm like, what does that have to do with her asking how soon until it's moved? I mean, what her question, it's a legitimate question. And his answer is there only to show that she views these animals as specimens and assets and not actual animals. And it's so on the nose and it's so fake. It just pulls you. It makes you notice the dialogue. It's like he's like, you do realize these are actual animals, right? Okay, so that's the first example. And then the second example is this guy so a pig escapes and it's running through the velociraptor cage, and this guy is trying to pull it out of the cage. He's trying to get it back. He's like, pig's loose, and he falls into the cage, and Owen tells him later after he rescues him, he says, don't ever turn your back on the cage. And the guy never turned his back on the cage. They're just trying to make a point, the dinosaurs aren't to be trusted. The dinosaurs are dangerous. Don't turn your back on them, and so that's the point they're trying to make. But it was like they pushed it too far. And then let's see another example. When Owen, after the Indominus Rex escapes and kills a bunch of people, Owen breaks into the command center, and he's like telling Claire what to do, and she's like, you are not in control here. And I'm like, the natural thing for people to say would be, you are not in charge here, not you are not in control here. And I mean, you have feelings about control. I mean, the theme of these shows is control,
is that
right?
You're not really in control.
Yeah, that you're not really in control.
So they're talking about the overarching, like, allegorical point of the movie, and it's like, oops, you broke the fourth wall in your dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole theme of the movie is control, and she's like telling us, hey, you are not in control here. Anyway, so find a better way to make your point. You need to make sure that the sentences and dialogue, all of that, not even just when people are talking, it needs to be logical. Like, you need to make sure grammatically, what you start your sentence with, it ends with that. Okay, so that's my second point. And my third point is, okay, so one of Trevorrow's favorite moments in shooting is when the Mosasaurus soaks 200 extras. And it's such an old school thing. There's no special effects in there, really. It's just a whole bunch of water soaking a whole bunch of people. And he said that was one of his favorite parts of the filming. And so my point is, you need enjoy and have fun with things that are out there. Experiment with like the point of view character and like if you're going to write first person, present tense, things like that, just have fun and explore and enjoy those types of things, but don't hesitate to fall back on things that are old and proven and stuff that you're good at, like the things that your readers enjoy about what you write, like your strengths and things like that. So don't hesitate to branch out and, play around with things a little bit, but if it comes down to it, it's okay to fall back on proven methods. All right, so your points. What are your points?
So point number 2, try to have an engaging beginning. So many books. This movie does the opposite of what a lot of books do. A lot of books have a very tightly edited beginning because the author goes off over it like a million times to make it perfect, and then the rest of their book sucks.
Yeah,
I feel like this movie was the opposite. The opening scene was a bit of a letdown.
It was a letdown.
So
It wouldn't have stopped us from watching the rest of the movie.
it wasn't
But-
horrible. It's just like that they had a chance to make an impression and didn't do it.
Yeah. The problem with that is Jurassic Park, this is a franchise that is well known and well loved. People who are fans of these movies will finish watching. But you can't do that. You can't count on that with your books, you know? Like, if your opening scene sucks, readers probably won't finish it, depending on how long they've been following your career.
It's a much bigger time commitment to read a book than watch a movie as well.
That's a good point too. So actually, even like my mom absolutely loves one of my author friends' books, but she started reading a book and she's like, I just could not. It just wasn't good, and she didn't finish the book, even though she loves that author's books. You know, so if your opening scene is not basically what I'm saying is you can't ever get to the point where you get comfortable and you're like, now these readers, they'll read anything I write, so I'm just going to put whatever I want out.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that everything you do is you're the best of what you can do, right?
Yes. Third point is keep your characters' motivations consistent. The Velociraptors do a 180 for no reason.
Oh yeah, good point.
That's not, they're animals, but still, their motivations are simple. We've talked about this in others where character motivations seem to just spontaneously change.
Yeah.
I think Sweet Home Alabama.
You mean the erotically? Behaving erotically?
Behaving erotically, yes. Where you're like, what's going on with this person? Because like they're this and they're whatever happened to be needed to be a counterpoint in the scene.
Yeah.
So she's like for you in one scene and then against them in the next, because that's what had to happen for them to have somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah.
But she was just like a windsock. Like, like whatever the way the wind was blowing, whoever was in the scene, and she was always the opposite of what,
And our Velociraptors are like that.
Yeah, like Velociraptors, they had to be with Owen at the beginning because that's what you needed to have the plot go forward. And they had to switch at the end because they needed them to win.
Yep.
And for no other reason.
Yeah.
So give them reasons. Like, you can be that, like, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You can have big changes in behavior in a character in a movie. Like we expect them to, some of them at least, behave differently at the end of the movie than at the beginning.
Yeah.
But there should be a reason somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And people can have very unpredictable behavior, but it shouldn't feel unpredictable to us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially like that. It's just like, what?
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, those are all excellent points I just made.
I was trying to say so yourself.
I don't know why I was going with that, but I decided to finish with a compliment to myself.
That's awesome. All right, any last...
Your points were good too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hubris.
One of the things in this whole franchise.
Yeah, the pride.
Yeah, goes before a fall.
Are you predicting a fall? Please don't take me with you.
You fell already.
Yes, I fell off the stairs and sprained my ankle. Next time I'll take you with me.
Yeah.
Any closing comments on the movie?
No, those are the main takeaways from me.
It's a great movie. It's a different style. It's not different enough to not feel like it's part of the series, but it is different from the first one.
Yes.
Yeah, so go ahead and send me emails at andrea@selfpublishstrong.com. And next week we're doing Johnny English, and the week after is our marketing podcast episode. And then we're doing a whole bunch of other movies, like I already said at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll talk at you later, because we won't be actually talking to you later.
Yes.
With you later. All right, Kay, bye.
Bye.